Good evening and welcome once again to another program of Issues in the News, where we discuss the important events that would have taken place in our country over the past week or so. And as is the norm, we have a packed agenda of issues to discuss. I want to welcome our viewers who are joining us on television from West Coast, Berbice, Region number 5. Welcome to another program of Issues in the News. To our listeners who are joining us again on television, and viewers, of course, joining us on television from Region number 6 on the east bank of the Berbice River, New Amsterdam, Kanji, and down the Quarantine Coast, all the way to Siparuta. Welcome to another program of Issues in the News. To our listeners who are joining us on Freedom Radio from Georgetown, welcome to another program of Issues in the News. And last but not least, to the tens of thousands of you who are joining us on Facebook, live across the length and breadth of Guyana, the Caribbean, North America, Europe, Afghanistan, Asia, Australia, and wherever you are located, welcome to another program of Issues in the News. Share the program. Press that share button on your phone, on your computer, on your iPad, on your tablet, whatever device you're viewing the program on. Share it so that all your friends and all your family, your followers, can join us in tonight's discussion. Abzal, Robert Rampasad, Shem Jadunandan, Kesh Sharma, Bansi Prasad, Krishna Rudolph, Janet Singh, Robindra Prasad, Dionanan Suku, Carla Thomas. So many of you are already on. Share the program, message your friends, call persons you may know and tell them to join us in tonight's discussion so that we can have the widest possible audience. Also, let me hear your views. Let me read your questions. Post them in the comment section. Let us interact, let us engage so that we keep this program conversational, we keep the program interactive. We don't make it a sterile, one-sided affair. I want to engage you, I want to hear your issues. It's sometimes difficult for me to read and speak at the same time because the writings are very small, but nevertheless, put your views here and include your comments so that we can read what you're saying and we can hear your views, and I can try my best to address them once I consider them appropriate. So please let me have your input. I see somebody's joining us from the Falkland Islands. So you see, this program is expanding with every episode. And as I said, we are in our 10th year. So we are getting there, we are getting up in age. So I want to begin by extending once again Ramadan Mubarak to our Muslim community. They are still in the holy month of Ramadan, and our Christian brothers are still also observing Lent. And then Friday, as you know, we will be celebrating Phagua. The Hindu community will be celebrating Phagua But Pagua, like so many of our cultural, religious festivals, is a national festival. It's not only a Hindu festival. And that is what I often praise about our country. The religious and cultural diversity, the religious tolerance and freedoms which we enjoy here. Right now, our Christian community is observing Lent, our Muslim community is observing Ramadan, and our Hindus will celebrate Phagua, all in a matter of days, or at the same time, actually. And that's the importance of our cultural diversity, something that I always say we must not take for granted, and something that people want to destroy. And we must stamp those people out. We must ensure that they never get an opportunity to destroy this unity, this tolerance, this unison that we enjoy as six people from different cultural and historical backdrop living in one common society, one country, and we are doing so with great love, with great tolerance, and with great understanding. But there are persons who are within our midst who would like to see that destroyed. And they're working every day, especially right here on the social media, to achieve that objective. But of course, that will not happen. I see a letter again in the newspapers contending that a statement I have made on this program in relation to the lawfulness of the Police Service Commission's composition and the promotions that would have come as part of the recommendation process from that commission. There is a contention again in the newspapers that the police promotions are unlawful because the Police Service Commission is not properly constituted. I have neither the time nor the energy to waste behind persons who are bent on either misunderstanding the law or not being able to understand the law. For those who are interested, you can go and read the Chief Justice's judgment in the case of Aubrey Norton against the Attorney General. There is a long written judgment, and the Chief Justice made it very clear that if the Police Service Commission, and it applies across the board to all the service commissions, if they are not constituted fully from the outset in terms of having their full membership, then they cannot function lawfully. That's the Chief Justice's ruling. So at the inception, you must have all the members. In the particular case, the chairman of the Public Service Commission was absent. So the Police Service Commission had a vacancy from the beginning. That is not the position here. We had a full complement of members for the Police Service Commission, and one died in the process. Article 226 of the Constitution says very clearly, a commission, 226(3) of the Constitution. For those who wish to go and read it themselves, you can go and read it. It reads as follows. A commission may act notwithstanding any vacancy in its membership or the absence of any members, and its proceedings shall not be invalidated by the presence or participation of any person not entitled to be present at or participate in those proceedings. So if a person is absent or there is any vacancy at the commission or present at the commission there is an unauthorized person, the absence of a member or the vacancy or the presence of the unauthorized member will not affect the validity of any decision or proceedings of the commission. I can't make it with people criticizing, but I have made it clear. And if a person holds a different view, that is not a problem. And if they feel that it is unlawful, that is also not a problem. They can challenge it in the court. But the court has pronounced. Don't misrepresent what the court has said. The court didn't rule in my favor on that issue. We won the case. But on that issue, the court overruled my submissions. And I'm telling you what the court ruled. But other people want to argue law, and they are not trained in the law. So I will not condescend and detain the program any further by spending more time on that issue. Hmm? Sorry? Not my fault, it's the internet system. So let's continue. By the end of March, that's the end of this month, the government of Guyana will declare open a spanking new building that will house the Deeds and Commercial Registries Authority in Essequibo at Sodi. It's a brand new 3-story beautiful building that has already changed the landscape on that part of the Essequibo coast at Sodi. Beautiful building. It has cost the government $447 million. And it will house the Deeds and Commercial Registries Authority. There are 3 floors. On the 3rd floor, there are residential facilities for the manager of the authority. And the other 2 floors will be used to accommodate the offices. When you go there, members of the public from the Essequibo coast, you will enjoy proper amenities. Building is fully air conditioned. I believe there are elevators as well as stairs. And that is the transformation that we are speaking about. All the modern services that are offered in Georgetown will now be offered in, I would dare say, better atmosphere. Better atmosphere on the Essequibo coast than is offered in Georgetown. Because as you know, we are still operating at the bottom of the High Court building on Avenue of the Republic and Charlotte Street rather, and Avenue of the Republic, and in the old New Building Society headquarters. That's where the Deeds and Commercial Registry Authority is located in Georgetown. On the Essequibo coast at Sodi, we used to be operating again at the bottom of the High Court building in Essequibo. We now have constructed brand new facilities, a beautiful building, and that building will be commissioned before the end of this month. Also, before the end of this month, the month of March 2025, the Ministry of Legal Affairs and Attorney General Chambers will, along with the Deeds and Commercial Registry Authority, will be handing over 200 transports to residents of Walton Hall. The residents of Walton Hall have been living on these lands for generations. These lands were owned by a co-op society. This co-op society became defunct decades ago, and the members of the co-op society, the original members, are all dead or have migrated, but the transport for the entire village still remained with the co-op society. And persons have been living on these lands where the houses are, but the transport is one block transport owned by the co-op society. What we have done, what the government of Guyana has done, through the agency of the Ministry of Legal Affairs, was to conduct an occupational survey, both for the homestead as well as for the agricultural lands, the lands at the back of the village. And we are regularizing all the occupants, firstly in relation to the house lots, and then in relation to the cultivation plots. So we are doing in the first phase the house lots, and we have completed over 200. So these people never had titles before, and they will now receive, over 200 families will be handed transports by the end of this month. And the government of Guyana bore the cost of this entire exercise. And this is an aspect of work that the Ministry of Legal Affairs has been undertaking for several years now. And this is one of many areas that we have been working to regularize. You must know about the West Coast Berbice communities. I've spoken about that at length. And I said that we are working on some communities on the Essequibo coast as well. We worked on some communities on the west coast of Demerara and on the east coast of Demerara. We are on the Essequibo coast now, and 200 titles. And that's only the start. We are doing another such initiative on the Pomeroon River, where another 60 to 70 families will get transports for the first time. That is also a co-op society, an area where the land is held by the co-op society, and we are regularizing and giving freehold title, transports, to the members of the co-op society or their descendants who are in occupation. You can't put a value to these services. No other part of the world, and I say this without the risk of being contradicted, there is no government that offers this type of service any part of the world. There is no Attorney General Chambers or no Ministry of Legal Affairs that offers or does this type of service. None. That is the difference between our government and governments anywhere. And we are doing this not in isolated areas. We are doing this and churning out thousands of titles for people, for families annually. And I'm not speaking here about the government of Guyana's housing program or regularization under the Central Housing and Planning Authority or the Ministry of Housing. This is through the Ministry of Legal Affairs. We are working on over 1,000 transports and or certificates of title along the west coast of Berbice. Over 1,000. We will be spanning several villages, starting from Cotton Tree. It is already a matter of public record that we distributed about 200 already titles in Cotton Tree alone. And we are doing all the villages in that proximity. It takes time, but we are handing titles to people who have never had titles and may never have been, and the government is doing it free. The government is bearing all the costs in relation to this exercise. Later this month as well, on the 31st of March rather, we will be commissioning a brand new magistrates court at Friendship on the east bank of the Demerara. The cost of that magistrates court is approximately $388 million. In all the years, East Bank had one magistrates court. And that magistrates court is located at at Providence on the east bank of the Demerara. One magistrates court that had to take off all the cases from somewhere around the Demerara Harbour Bridge, Peters Hall, all the way to the end of Region 4, Moblissa. That long distance from Peters Hall all the way to Moblissa. Any crime committed in that huge expanse and a charge is to be instituted, the only court in that long vicinity used to be the Providence Magistrates Court. Our government built another court at Grove Diamond, another magistrates court. So you now have two. But because of the explosion of population on the East Bank corridor, two courts simply cannot take off the load. As a result, a court has been constructed at Friendship on the east bank of Demerara. And what is significant about this court is that it is located conveniently where the new highway will be built. So it's not alongside the public road on the east bank at Friendship. It is where the new highway will pass, going to the Soesdijk-Linden Highway. Remember, we are building a new highway parallel to the East Bank Public Road. And this court will be in close proximity to that new road that we are constructing. And that court will be opened, will be launched on March 31st, the end of this month. We are building another court along the East Bank at Soesdijk. So at Soesdijk we will also have a court. And these courts are to offer persons conveniently in these localities access to justice. As I've said on many occasions, access to justice is as important as access to health care, as access to education, as access to housing, access to water, etc. If you are denied your rights and freedoms, none of these other things matter. And that is why we are building courts across the country. So I see the opposition is acting up. As the government, as the government social welfare program unfolds, and as the benefits of the government programs are received by the population, the opposition is galvanized into action. They cannot bear to see the people of Guyana receiving all these benefits. So what they do, like they look, and wherever they see a problem, they magnify it. That's all that they do all day. Because they are, because of the government's programs, the developmental drive, the transformation of the entire country, the unfolding of cash grants and other grants, and with everything else happening in the country, they are being made totally irrelevant. Nobody bothering with them. So they have to make themselves relevant. So ever so often, you would see them, and what they do, they go around the country, and when they see an issue that will put the government in a bad light, they magnify it. That's what they do. So right now, they are magnifying a big issue about the Mohammeds and the PPP. And they are peddling the propaganda that the PPP is afraid of Mohammeds. The PPP is not afraid of Mohammed or anyone else. The PPP is not afraid of the PNC, of APNU, of the AFC, of Mohammed, either individually or altogether combined. The PPP has a track record and a history that dates back to 1950. It is the longest, the oldest political movement in this country. And we have faced every type of challenges that you can think about. And we have withstood those challenges. And we are here today as strong as ever. And you think Mohammeds will shift us? But I am not here to talk about the Mohammeds. But I look at the opposition and how they are excited and how with great glee they are speaking about the Mohammeds, and the PPP is afraid. And this is giving them some kind of lubrication, it's giving them some kind of high. They have something to hold on to. And that's all they're doing whole day. So that's one. I see people like James McAllister has come out from I don't know which hole. Because I didn't hear from this guy or see this guy in 15 to 20 years. Now I see him writing regularly now and saying that the PPP is desperate and is getting drastic. Mr. James McAllister, wherever you are, we are not desperate and we are not drastic. We made people, the PPP made people like you retire from politics. And a whole bandwagon of you. You retired and I see you're coming back now. You're well rested. We'll come back and we'll retire you again. So, the last 2 weeks, they spent their energies on trying to do criticisms of the cash grant. That's what they spent the last 2 or 3 weeks doing. Magnifying the glitches, highlighting whatever shortcomings they could identify in the execution of the program. But as I have said, the program, the cash grant program, has been a resounding success. Hundreds of thousands of Guyanese have received their checks. And yes, there are glitches, and yes, there are people still to collect their checks, but that is expected. But this bunch, all they can do is the doom and gloom game. So highlight all the negatives. So that's all that they're doing. And then they move from that to the Mohammeds. And then when we launch the $100,000 cash grant for the babies, it's another spectacle. It's another heap of criticisms from them. Now we are using the babies and their mothers. Any part of the world, if a program of this type is unfolded, a government will launch it in a public way. And what you see there is simply a symbolic. It was simply a symbolic launch. No government would design a program of such utility and will not publicize it. No government, any part of the world. And that's all we are doing, and we are entitled to do that. We will unfold another program this weekend where every Guyanese will get a $10,000 invoice to do a medical checkup at any lab or any hospital, any part of the country. We are already unfolding the $8,000 grant for women between ages 21 to 65 to do cervical cancer testing. $8,000 subsidy that is already unfolding. These vouchers can be uplifted from all the health centers or hospitals of our country. We have the 10,000 cash grant is to do medical checkup for anything. And every Guyanese will get that. Then we have the spectacles program. You get a voucher to test your eyes, and then you get a voucher of $15,000 towards the acquisition of a spectacles. Every child, every person entitled to that. Then we have the dialysis program of $600,000 per annum worth of dialysis treatment. When we unleash these programs, the opposition gets, the collective opposition, they get buzzedy. They get buzzedy. That's the word. So they run helter-skelter. So I heard Norton and Mahipal and a whole grouping of them. All of them have become economists now, and and all of them are on Facebook, and they are comically explaining that these sums of monies mean nothing to the people. So I will come back to the point, what they are doing. But there's another paper that I had with, you have to add also You have to add also the increase from one on the income tax threshold from 100,000 to 130,000. So you get another $30,000 in tax-free money. You got an increase in income tax from 28% to 25%, and then from 40% to 35%. All these are money coming back into your pockets, you know. These are monies coming back into people's pockets. Then the relief for overtime jobs, $50,000 non-taxable. $50,000 of overtime, no tax. Increase in old age pension from $36,000 to $41,000. Public assistance from $19,000 to $22,000. Contribution, you now qualify and you get a grant. We have scrapped tuition fees at the University of Guyana. We have increased the Because We Care cash grant from 40,000 to 50,000. Uniform allowance for every child is $5,000. Then we have part-time jobs. You work 10 days and you get $40,000 a month. $40,000 a month for 10 days of work. And those are some of the measures that we have implemented that have returned to the Guyanese people billions of dollars of monies that would have been in the treasury in the form of taxes or revenue or income. We have given it to the people either directly through direct cash transfer or indirectly by reducing of taxations. Billions of dollars have gone back to the Guyanese people, and that accounts for what you're seeing across this country. The spending explosion, the number of motor vehicles, the fancy clothes that you see people wearing, the type of jewelry that you see they're wearing. People are traveling, people are eating, people are dining, people are recreating in a manner that they have never done before. Those of you who live in the United States and Canada and overseas, you can comment now because you have lived overseas for a long time, and you, from a distance, you can see and you can observe objectively how the lives of Guyanese have been transformed. You can look at the clothes that we are wearing, and you can see the difference in the clothes. You can look at the glasses, the fashion, what we are drinking, what we are driving, our lifestyle, and you will see how sometimes it is surpassing what you are enjoying in the United States. Guyanese are wearing the brand name clothes that you sometimes can't afford in the United States and in Canada and wherever you are living. And you have witnessed firsthand that transformation happening. You know what I'm speaking about. I lived overseas too. And I know what Guyanese used to look like when you compare them to people from other countries. And I now see what Guyanese look like when you compare them to people from any country. You know how much money you had to send to Guyana for your relatives. You know how much money you are sending now. You know that some of them may be lending you money or sending money to you in the United States of America and in other countries. That is the transformation. And nobody, no politician or wannabe politician can change that reality. And Guyanese are living that. They are experiencing that. Nobody can undo that reality. And that is what is happening. So the opposition politicians have a very uphill task, because in the face of this avalanche of success, this avalanche of policies from which people are benefiting from every walk of life, from that backdrop, they have to do politics. How do you do that? When they don't have anything of their own to which they can point. Remember, they were just in government, you know. From 2015 to 2020, they were just in government. And they will tell you that they didn't have oil money. Well, yes, they did. They collect 18 million US and try to steal it. The first tranche of oil money that they received was the signing bonus of 18 million US, which they attempted to steal. Imagine if they were getting any other. Imagine if they were getting any other. But that is not the issue. That is not only the issue. They imposed. We are doing all these things and we have not raised taxes, you know. Not a single dollar in taxes, and all these benefits are going to the people. They dropped a whopping 200 tax measures on the backs of Guyanese. They dropped 200 tax measures. And they took away whatever subsidies we were giving. And we gave the subsidies also when we did not have oil. The cash grant for children was $10,000. They took it away. It was $5,000 first, and then we raised it to $10,000. And they scrapped it. We had a one laptop per family. They scrapped that. We were paying 2,000 community officers in the Amerindian communities, CSOs we are calling them, community service officers. They knock off all of them. Pensioners were getting subsidies for electricity and were getting free water. They scrapped that. And we were doing these things when we were without oil. So now when Mahipal is checking, and Norton is checking, and Nigel Hughes is checking how much the $100,000 will do, that it can't, it's only $8,000 a month, I hear they say. Well, it's $8,000 more than they gave per month. They took money from our children. They took money from the pensioners. So when they're calculating, you must tell them to let them add in the money that they took out. So all of them becoming economists. And they're telling you what is the impact of this, what is the impact of that. Let them tell you what is the impact of the 200 tax measures that they drop on the backs of the Guyanese people. Let them tell you about the 7,000 sugar workers that they send on the bread line. Let them tell you about the VAT that they drop on medical supplies and school supplies. Let them tell you about the withdrawal of subsidies from the pensioners for light bills. Let them tell you about the withdrawal of free water supply for our pensioners. Let them tell you about those things. They can't. You see why they have to dwell on Mohammed's, and they got to go and if there's a crowd somewhere, people line up, they got to magnify that. Or if the children, the babies go, the mothers take their child, the baby, for the $100,000 cash grant is a problem for them. It's not really, they don't care about those mothers, you know. You think they care one heck about Mohammed's? Is what can gain them political mileage. That is all that they are interested in. That is all. I hear one of them saying on Facebook, oh, how close it is to take government. They are salivating. That is all they want, to take government. And why you think they want to take government? You think they want to take government to improve the lives of anybody? The worst thing that will ever happen in this country is if they ever take government again. I see we are coming quickly to program time, but I want to mention this case that was filed by this gentleman, Terence Campbell, against the Attorney General and the senior minister in the office of the President with responsibility for finance. Now, I said before that this gentleman obviously is more important than portraying himself in the public domain for something, I don't know, if he wants attention, if he doesn't get enough attention in his personal life. But he obviously wants to draw public attention to himself. So he filed his proceedings, and instead of serving it on time on the respondents, he first issues a press statement. I read it, I was somewhere in the interior when I read the press statement, and I was called for a comment, and I said, the new trend now is to get a statement out about your court process. These proceedings are not designed to address any legal issues, you know. These are nuisance value. Well, in law they are nuisance value. They cannot succeed, but they are intended to make political mileage. They are intended to gain public acclaim. They are intended to advance political causes. And the courts do not exist for the advancement of those objectives. The courts are funded by taxpayers' money to adjudicate and determine genuine legal issues between the citizens of this country and between the citizens and the state. They are not to feather people's political nests, and that is what these proceedings are about. I read this thing. I read it. They are asking for some declarations that the court must declare what the Natural Resource Fund Act says. They want the court to declare what provisions of the Act says. What the provision of the Act says, it says. You can read it, I can read it. What do you want the court to declare that about? Declare about it, about what? If this is a microphone, they're asking the court to declare this a microphone. You have to read it. It may be, it's difficult for me to explain it, but you have to read what they're asking the court to do. These are not matters of contention. And then, worse yet, they're inviting the court to make orders that will put the court in violent breach of the separation of powers doctrine. They're asking the court to interfere with, and worse yet, usurp the functions of both the executive and the legislature. They are asking the court to direct the judiciary, to direct the executive on matters such as what is national priority and what are matters of national development priority. Those are matters within the domain of the executive. They want the court to direct Parliament on how Parliament should treat with monies that Parliament has to approve by law and by the Constitution. The court has no business in giving such directions either to the executive or the legislature. In the same way that the legislature and the executive can give no such directions to the court. That is the essence of the separation of powers doctrine. These proceedings do not allege violation of law. They don't raise matters of contentions between the parties, genuine matters of contention. These are people who have problems with the manner of governance. They have problems with the manner in which Parliament is functioning. In other words, they have political grievances. They have political dissenting views. And they want the court to adjudicate upon them. I hope that the court will make appropriate pronouncements on these matters, because I intend to raise them frontally in the courts. And I invite you to get a copy of this. It's public. I can put it on the website of the Attorney General Chambers, which is a public website. And you can go there and pull it down and read it for yourself. And you will see what they're inviting the court to do. Politicians must not use the court or the judiciary or any institution of state to prosecute their political agendas. The courts, the judiciary is for the resolution of genuine disputes between citizens or among citizens and between citizens and the state. It's not a place where politicians play political football. And I hope that the courts will take an appropriate position on these matters. I see that my operator is signaling to me that I'm coming to program time, so I want to conclude by extending to you once again Ramadan Mubarak greetings, and to extend to you holy greetings, because Friday we will be celebrating Pagwa. So I want to thank you once again for spending the past hour with me. I want to wish you a happy week, a happy holiday weekend. Do not overdo. Stay safe. Enjoy yourself and may God bless you. Thank you very much. Until we meet again Tuesday. Good evening.